when we were discussing with Seth what to do with him today, because he loves being in the kitchen.
Love it.
You're
it's home for me.
You're sort of like a homebody.
I really am.
You
I
are.
really am. Yeah.
And he wanted to make pizza.
I did.
And we had a perfect fall pizza recipe in the October issue of our magazine. Did you read it?
No, I didn't. But
have you looked at it?
I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
It does not look like any pizza I've ever had.
You wanted peppers on yours and onions and tomato sauce and mozzarella.
Right, things people put on pizza.
Right. Now, I'm doing butternut squash.
See, that's such a burn on me that you can use something fancy that makes
It's
me
not
feel...
fancy. It's squash. It's plain old squash.
Yeah, no, it's so normal. Hey, dudes, let's get pizza. What do you want? Oh, butternut squash. Making me feel very bourgeois with my choice of peppers and onions.
Peppers and onions.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever proofed yeast?
Have I ever what? To what?
Proofed yeast.
I can prove this is yeast.
Yes. Well, do you know how?
No, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to show you how to prove that it's yeast.
Okay, great.
So you have a little pack of yeast here.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a lot of phony yeast trying to make its way into pizza?
No, but there may be dead yeast.
Oh, dead yeast, of course.
Proofing means not proving, but proofing means that you are actually proving that it's alive.
Okay.
By proofing it.
Great. I feel like I'm never going to eat pizza again after this.
So this is how you proof it.
Okay.
You just add the yeast to 1 cup of water that's no hotter than 110 degrees.
Okay.
Because if it were hotter than that, what would it do? It might.
It would kill the yeast. Would it really?
Yeah! So it might kill it. You never know. I'm going to proof mine too, but you'll see what happens to yours in a little while. But look.
I'm going to get cocky now that I got that right.
It's alive.
Oh, my God.
See? Smell.
It smells like a person. I don't know. What do you mean?
What person smells like that?
I don't know. You said it was alive. Smell it. Like, what does alive smell like?
Alive? I mean, it has a nice yeasty smell.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
No, you don't want to smell like this.
No, I don't. Trust me. I don't want to smell
people
like that.
should not smell like this.
No, sometimes when we
bread
work...
Bread should smell like this.
Bread should smell like bread. People should smell like people. Got it.
Okay. 2.5 cups. We're making the dough.
Okay, great.
Okay, and pizza usually has a yeast dough.
Okay.
Which rises.
Yes.
Okay. Yeast makes things rise, like flour.
Right.
So 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour.
Okay.
1.5 teaspoons of salt.
Great.
So you 1 of those and a half. 1/2 cup of roasted hazelnut meal, and you can get that. This is Freddie Guy's. Look, Freddie Guy's hazelnuts.
Oh, that's great.
From
Freddie
Oregon.
Guy's from Oregon.
Yeah,
of course,
you know
of course,
them.
Yes.
You know them. Just put that in.
All of it in?
Yep. A tablespoon of sage, all chopped up.
Of course. Can't do it without the
sage
sage.
leaves. And you stir this all up.
Right.
And then you
This
add...
is just like working at Domino's.
Did you ever work there?
What?
Did you ever work at Domino's?
No,
I would think it would be so much fun to work in a pizza parlor.
I worked in a sub shop when I was young, and I liked that.
What's that?
Like, making subs.
Oh, sub?
Yeah.
Oh.
D'Angelo's.
I've never been in a sub shop.
No, I believe. Trust me. I believe about 95% of the places I've been, you've never been.
I have But I don't think I've even had a submarine sandwich. It's a horrible thing to admit.
Well, you definitely, the fact that you refer to them as submarine sandwiches also belies that that's not in your wheelhouse.
3 whole tablespoons.
What am I doing now?
Why are you doing only a part of a tablespoon?
Well,
here, but 3 of those.
We make our pizza different ways.
Oh, 3 of those. 3 of those.
3 of these? It's going to take forever.
To the top. No, it doesn't. It pours very easily. I've done 2. Now 1 more. 3 tablespoons into the yeast mixture.
2.
And you can use your fingers because you're going to get
I'd rather not.
And then you just put this into your flour.
All right.
Did you do 3?
I did.
Okay. I'm just checking because you are not trustworthy.
No, that's not a bad call to check on me.
You are not trustworthy.
I like every time I come here, you lower the level of food we make. I like that. The level of doing it. Next time it's like, ham sandwiches.
Maybe peanut butter and jelly.
Maybe peanut, right? Yeah.
If you're lucky. But see, now you stir that up.
Okay.
And you can use some little elbow grease in there, which you have, I'm sure. And so, have you ever cooked on Saturday Night Live?
No, we've done phony cooking shows. We've never done the real thing.
Well, you used to make fun of me, I remember, but
I know, that was before my time.
I've never been able to go on. Nobody's ever invited me on. Well, they did invite me once.
What happened? Why didn't you
Well,
go?
for some reason, they didn't let me go on. It was during probation. And it would have been the best.
It would have been the best.
So
you know
why
what
can I come on
the
now?
best is?
What?
The only person I know who's been on probation is you. That's the craziest thing.
Isn't that something? And,
That's
and
crazy.
Look, oh, and I'm so nice. And
I know.
And I want to come on Saturday Night Live. Please tell Lauren.
I will let him know.
Okay, tell him that it's time.
Great.
It's time. There. Now, you were practicing your pizza skills. Were you cheating and doing this ahead of time?
I was practicing my pizza skills, and just to prove how seriously I take it, I think we have a clip of me practicing.
Okay, let's see this. That's not you.
Yes, it is. Look.
Oh, come on.
That's me.
It is not.
It is me. What's wrong?
Oh.
It's clearly me.
Look how good you are.
I'm
okay,
very good.
Well,
yeah.
that is fantastic. Okay, look. Your yeast is proofing. Look what's happening.
Oh,
it's proving it's alive. It's
That's
just starting.
great.
Okay, so now put a little flour. That's your bench flour right there.
Okay. And what do I do? Just how much?
No, on the bench.
Oh, gotcha, on the bench, right.
Bench means...
bench flour.
Yeah, right here.
As in bench.
Here, a little bit, like that.
Gotcha, okay.
As in the bench. Okay, so now you knead.
Okay.
Okay.
I need to get me
but
some
here,
pizza.
Watch. Use the heels of your hand.
Okay.
Put some flour on your hand.
Okay.
Be like the pizza guy. Mm-hmm. And then push like that. And then pull back.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, pull here. There's a little method to this. And you're very good at flinging pizza
and
dough.
your methods.
Here, go down and then back.
Okay.
Down and then pull it around and back.
Okay.
What you're trying to do is get it to be smooth like a baby's bottom.
Oh,
when was
that's
the
great.
last time
But do not do this to a baby's bottom.
When was the last time you touched a baby's bottom?
Wait, I feel like I'm getting interrogated. Forever.
Forever.
For a very long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
So do you have a girlfriend?
I do.
Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You going to get married?
One day.
Okay. Did she come with you today?
She didn't.
Oh, why didn't you bring her?
I feel like it's weird when I'm around you and another lady.
Okay, here's the bowl. Okay. Put your dough in an oiled bowl and cover with plastic wrap. Now, I'm going to just show the audience because you don't like butternut squash, but I just want to show them that you need to really get the butternut squash for my pizza, the right thickness, use a mandolin. So you have one of these at home, right?
Of course, my mandolin for butternut squash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can slice cucumbers on it, too.
I have a different mandolin for cucumbers.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But see, it comes out very nice and thin.
Great.
You can do it by hand, but you're not at all
I'm
interested.
listening to all of this.
You are not. You need one of these. I'm sending you one of those.
Okay, great.
Okay. So now you have your, oh no, you don't have any dough. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have our actual acrobatic pizza thrower right in the audience here. Hi, Joe. Joe Carlucci.
How are you?
Now, is that what you do for a living? I mean, just throw pizza, or do you make pizzas?
What's that?
Do you make pizzas?
Yes, I do.
Oh, where?
Madison, Alabama. I have a pizzeria called Famous Joe's Pizzeria.
Look at him. Isn't he great?
Yeah, he's my arch rival. He and
Oh,
I
my
are the
God.
best two in the world at that.
I know. You can do all those fancy things?
I could do all this too.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh. It's so
This
phenomenal.
is ruining the willing suspension of disbelief that was me earlier.
Oh, no.
It was such a good special effect.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Put a little bench flour on your
on my
bench right here.
Got it. You don't have to tell me
Okay.
twice.
And here, you can have half of this dough.
Excellent. Okay, so now what are we doing with it now?
Well, your
Same
peel,
thing?
that's called a peel. This is called a peel.
Okay.
And just start spreading out a little bit on the flour just to
Okay.
make sure it's not sticky, and then take it over to your peel.
Okay.
And make it as large and as thin as you want.
Okay.
But and while you're at it, you could sort of start flinging it, you know?
Are you going to do that? Are you going to fling it?
Definitely.
Do you know how to do this?
Huh?
Do you fling?
No, I don't know fling. Are you
Well, what
kidding?
do you think? Are you going to try?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
But remember, you're going to eat this.
What? Okay.
Look! Oh,
Hey.
fantastic! See, and Joe, is that the same dough, or do you have different dough?
This one's a little different.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a
Yeah, that
rubber
one's
mat.
like
Oh,
made for
look,
throwing.
it's a rubber mat. Oh, my gosh. I can throw that one. It's this one, but see, now you get that nice, and I like it thin. But
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how you like it, but
Right.
I like it kind of thin.
As
And
long as
holes.
there's not squash
no
on it, I don't care
holes
how.
in it. How you
No
doing?
holes?
No,
Okay.
and use the backs of your hands, I think,
Oh, right. Gotcha.
this way. These backs.
Like,
Do you know what the backs of your hands
well,
are?
it just seems like this. Right, there we go. The backs of my hands. Thank you for that excellent advice on how to do this.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Look.
Okay.
Well, we're not. I didn't nail this.
Put it down. But you use a little more flour on your hands.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. No,
Don't
not
put
like
the
that.
camera on this. Just put the camera somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't.
here's
Nobody
your
needs
filling.
to see this.
Salt, pepper into your peppers.
Okay. Oh, into my peppers.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you going to put it?
I was gonna put it on my pizza. So it all lines up the same place.
Now you have to mix them sort of.
See,
in a
this
little...
is interesting. You notice these things you've actually seen on a pizza?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that, but my butternut squash is delicious.
I'm sure
you're going to
it is.
actually become a convert.
I bet.
And then you can add your mushrooms and your onions.
Okay, gotcha.
And just stir that up.
Okay.
Did you put olive oil?
I did.
Okay. Salt and pepper. And then just spread that on your dough.
Okay.
That's very thick crust.
Yeah, it
You
is.
like thick crust, right?
Well, we'll say that's what happened. We'll say this was choice.
Choice. Yep, spread it out. It's sort of in a thin layer on your very thick dough.
Yeah, all right, we get it.
I'm going to keep saying it.
I blew it on the dough.
But Domino's, you could work at Domino's.
I could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They would keep you there for a little while. And then I have ricotta cheese. I'm going to put this on with my fingers.
Okay.
Do you have ricotta cheese
I think
too?
I have mozzarella.
Oh no, you have mozzarella cheese. What tomato sauce? Don't forget the tomato sauce. Right there. See that little?
Yeah. I'm going to put it on now. Shouldn't I put it on first?
You should have, but you didn't. I'm sorry.
Helping.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misdirect you. But that looks good.
Oh, no. I think we all know who's going to win the pizza contest.
It's not a contest.
Well, good.
Not a contest. So this looks really good. I think.
One of them looks all right.
And then you put this in your oven, 500 degrees, and it comes out looking like this. Look, just for about 10 minutes. Look, the hotter the oven, the better. Now, this is yours, Seth.
Uh-huh.
Seth made this before the show, so he got a little nervous.
Right.
And he didn't get his pizza dough.
Right.
Well,
When
you
the
can
camera's
cut.
up.
Here,
Yeah,
cut.
okay.
You cut. You want to taste mine?
Absolutely.
Not.
I do. I do want to taste yours.
Absolutely
I want to
not.
hear the... Usually when I eat pizza at this hour in the morning, I'm very hungover.
And by the way, you can have a little bit of hazelnuts on your...
Who doesn't put hazelnuts on their pizza?
Try it. I'm going to try yours. What do you think?
Oh, really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good, right?
Uh-huh.
Tasty.
Okay. Wow.
Yours is really good, too.
Mm.
So 2 cups of warm water, 1 package of active dry yeast. Let this proof, and you can make the dough right on your counter. Start with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to use 5 cups altogether, and 2 teaspoons of fine sea salt. Mix this all together. You can use a whisk if you want, or just your fingers, but try to get the salt throughout the flour. I like this method because it's, using your hands. It's the artisanal pizza is alive and well everywhere. Everybody's making it. In my neighborhood here, we have a pizza truck that comes with an oven in the truck. A very nice business for my friend, and he makes pizzas to order right in your own backyard. So you can have him come, serve at parties. It's so delightful. So here we have our yeast. Let's give it a stir.
Martha, do you prefer to use the dry yeast over the fresh?
Well, it's so readily available, and most people can get the dry yeast in the supermarket. You can use cake yeast, no problem if you can get it. We can find it here only in bakeries.
Right.
Remember, I live in the boondocks. So I'm just making my well with our water, and I start by using a fork to go around. It's sort of like I make my pasta dough. And then I'll add the rest of the liquid, hopefully without breaking the well. And this is all only to save time washing a bowl. You can do it in a bowl very easily.
Do you have any tips or advice for somebody who's maybe not so used to working with bread or yeast products?
Your yeast should be proofed in water no hotter than 115 degrees. And yeast is a substance that reacts with the starch or sugar to form alcohol and carbon dioxide, which gives you the airiness, the rise of the dough, the ultimate dough. So you want to not kill it by hot water. So here we are, almost ready to start the kneading process.
What are some of the other methods you could use to make the pizza dough?
Well, the fastest way is in a stand mixer with a dough hook. We just wanted to do something a little bit fun. A lot of people don't have a stand mixer, and I just want to make the recipes as accessible and as useful to as large an audience as possible. When people ask me the tools that I must have in the kitchen, I always say a stand mixer, food processor, a good set of pots and pans, and a good set of knives, and a good counter to work on. So you see how nice this is becoming? So a lot of people ask how to knead. I'm using basically the heels of my hands, not my fingers as much, even though they're completely covered with dough. And I'm pulling the top towards me, and then pushing the bottom away. Pulling, pushing.
Is there anything you're looking for texture-wise while you do this?
Yes, a baby's bottom.
Okay.
I can feel it becoming elastic. The gluten has to relax. So it's going to rise in an oiled bowl for about 2 hours prior to putting it in the refrigerator overnight.
And why do you let it sit in the refrigerator overnight?
It's resting. It's making a finer, more tender dough. And it gives you time to get all your toppings and fillings ready for your big pizza party that you're going to have on Friday night. So now this is rested for 2 hours at room temperature. And we're going to cut this into 4 equal pieces. Just use your bench scraper to do that. And these will be your crusts. Enough for a sizable calzone, enough for a 12-inch pizza, or enough for a skillet pizza, which has a little bit thicker crust. This is a method that I learned making pistolet or French boule. And you just pinch the bottom until you get a nice smooth top and put that on a well-floured baking sheet. This is what's going to go into the refrigerator overnight to rest the gluten, ferment the yeast a little bit, and make a more flavorful dough. Okay, so here we have our dough. It's looking really good. And this is what you want to form into your base for your pizza. 12 inches round. I'm working on a piece of parchment paper. This really simplifies a lot of problems for people who haven't made pizza before, because we have a stone in the oven heating to 550 degrees. That stone is piping hot, and it will cook a pizza in approximately 10 minutes. So this is very nice. No need to fling the pizza up into the air unless you are adept and expert. I've had it stick to the ceiling. So just keep stretching the dough to get to the desired diameter of 12 inches circumference.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I froze.
Pi D. Okay, beautiful. It's flat and even and looking good. Now the topping is delicious. We have Gruyere cheese. Grated, sprinkle that all over your top. Now you can leave about 1/4 of an inch around the edge if you want a nice edge. We also have mozzarella, fresh buffalo mozzarella. This lovely mozzarella melts beautifully in the oven. The pecorino is a salty cheese, adding a lot of flavor. And the Gruyere just gets nice and stringy. And it's also very flavorful. We also have a couple garlic cloves that are slivered. You can put a garlic sliver here and there. And then I think we'll do the spinach. These are washed baby spinach leaves, which go on last. And at the end, we're going to put some mint leaves on. They go so well with the spinach. And now a sprinkling of black pepper. A sprinkling of red pepper flakes would be nice too. Some salt. And a drizzle of olive oil. This helps the spinach cook without burning. And this is a peel. This helps a lot to get your pizza in and out of the oven. So right into the oven. Now take your peel all the way to the back of the stone and then just gradually slide this off, positioning it in the middle of the stone. Set your timer for 10 minutes. It's time to get the pizza out of the oven. It is exactly 10 minutes. That looks so amazing. Now that looks like it comes from the best restaurant, doesn't it? So just slide this right off onto your cutting board. Don't use this as a cutting board. It's really needs to stay nice and smooth. And there you have an amazing pizza. To just add a little more flavor, a few pieces of mint leaf. You'll like the taste of the mint with the spinach. It is really delicious, and it really does enhance the pizza. Now, you can cut with a mezzaluna like this. I guess I'll make 8 pieces. I'll have to practice if I'm going to work in my own pizza parlor. Serve this piping hot with some pieces of lemon. I just have to show you underneath. The crust is a beautiful color. The dough is simple, a basic pizza crust dough. We first proof 1 package of active dry yeast in 2 cups of warm water. And the water should be no warmer than 115 degrees. And we want it to become like this, dissolved, and you want to see a little bit of action on the top of the water, little tiny bubbles. That way you know the yeast is alive. Let this one sit for about 5 minutes. In a large bowl, we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that we're going to add 2 teaspoons of fine sea salt. Stir that up, and then you can make a well if you want, or whatever way you're going to incorporate all this yeasty water into all that flour. It's going to be very, very wet. And by making a well, you can gradually add the flour, the dry to the wet. I'm using a good sturdy wooden spoon to help mix. And because it's so wet, you're going to add up to 2 additional cups of flour to this dough. So now you can start adding. The first cup, just sprinkle it on. You don't have to dump it all in. Now you can, of course, make this in the stand mixer fitted with a dough hook. It'll save what my dad always called that elbow grease. But it's kind of fun to make pizza dough and use your arm muscles. And again, the addition of the flour, sometimes it'll take all 2 cups. Sometimes you'll need a little bit more depending on the day. And you can put some of the extra flour right here on your counter. Pull up your sleeves and get ready to knead. And it helps to use a pastry scraper whenever you're kneading dough. This will lift the dough and allow you to make those initial folds. And it might take up to 10 minutes to get this into a nice, smooth ball of dough. And have a large bowl ready with some olive oil in the bowl, and that will be the rising bowl. Coat the entire surface with oil, and then cover with plastic wrap, and let it rise in a warm place until double in volume, approximately 3 hours. So here's our dough, doubled in bulk. And there's no reason to buy pizza dough. It's so nice to make your own. I make my own, my daughter makes her own, my niece makes her own beautiful, beautiful dough. And using your pastry cutter, cut into quarters. What you want to do is just make this into a nice round. Notice how I'm folding up the edges. You don't want a lot of air bubbles in your pizza. Flour a baking sheet lightly, cover, and let the dough rise for another 30 minutes. And I think we have a swap out for this one too. So here's our dough, nicely risen. Take one of the balls, and if it's going to take you a little time, keep this in the fridge so it doesn't overproof. You can also put them in the freezer. Oh boy, look at this. So pretty. Just a lightly floured surface. And you want to push the dough out to a circle about 12 inches in diameter. You can go around and around like this using the backs of your hands. Now put this right on a lightly floured peel. Now, a few little red onions. So 1/4 of a red onion. Some Piave cheese. 2 ounces of the cheese should be enough for 1 pizza. Some thin lemon slices, 6, which will give you 6 perfect slices. And some, Fontina cheese. 2 ounces will melt perfectly under the heat that we're going to bake this, 500 degrees, and a little bit of oven broiler. Some little sprigs of rosemary. You don't want a lot of rosemary, just want a few sprigs here and there. And black pepper. I'm not adding any salt, the cheese is salty enough. And then a little drizzle of very good olive oil. Ready for the oven. Now your oven should be preheated to 500 degrees for at least 1 hour with your pizza stone on the bottom rack, if that's an electric oven, or on the floor of a gas oven. Don't overshoot the stone. I start it where I want the pizza to land, and I just gently squiggle the peel. Close the oven. So now broil until bubbles begin to form around the edges, 3 to 4 minutes. And then we are going to reduce the temperature to oven heat of 500 degrees and bake for another 6 to 8 minutes. Our time is up. Oh boy, so gorgeous. That is a gorgeous pizza. Nothing burned, beautiful crust, beautiful melted top, and it smells spectacular. Mushrooms on pizza are really good, and they're even better when they're the crust, like these big Portabella mushroom caps, which can be filled with an endless variety of toppings. First, we have to roast the portabellas, and to do that, we have to get them ready to be the crust by removing the stem. These stems don't throw away. Save this for stock. Now drizzle about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Put 1 in the bottom of a pan just so that the mushroom caps don't stick. I'm using a big, heavy-bottomed stainless steel pan. Sprinkle with a little bit of salt and pepper. Add the other tablespoon of olive oil. A 1/2 cup of dry white wine. Can be left over from dinner last night. A sprig of fresh thyme, a sprig or 2. This is so fragrant, and all these kinds of herbs go very nicely with the real meaty texture and flavor of these giant mushrooms. And about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And now cover this with foil and roast in a 400-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Make sure your oven's preheated. And now we can make the toppings. This is the fun part because you can, again, be really creative. This is broccoli rape, and it's related to the cabbage and turnip family. It has a very pungent and sometimes bitter flavor. Now, to make the topping, I'm going to just cut the stems, leaving the leaf part intact. And we're going to blanch everything for a minute or 2. We can put our strainer right in the water. And I have a bowl of iced water right here to refresh our blanched leaves and stems. But I'm going to start in my skillet, a tablespoon or so of oil and some sliced garlic. This will be for the broccoli rape. Now, if you're going to prepare these toppings in advance, you can just put this into the cold water and let it sit here for a little while, then drain it. few red pepper flakes, these hot red pepper flakes, just enough to brighten up that flavor. And a little bit of salt. Let this cook down until it gets nice and tender. Now, to make another topping, which is very simple too, is a little bit of very finely minced garlic, some basil leaves that can be chiffonaded, and I'm just piling these leaves atop each other and rolling them up. And then you cut them with your knife into fine strips. Oh, that's a great topping. And now a little bit more oil. Some of the minced garlic. Little yellow and red plum tomatoes. A little bit of pepper and salt. Lower the heat a little bit so that the tomatoes can soften without burning the garlic. And if you like, you can also make a topping out of fennel. Get nice pieces of fennel, which will cook down to a soft mass, which will also be pretty on top of the mushroom bases. Oh, the tomatoes look done. They're just starting to crack. We can put those here. They look great. And now you can actually use the fennel raw, or I'm just going to cook it a little tiny bit in the same pan. Mozzarella cheese, I think, is a great addition to any kind of Italian flavored meal. Just slice it into very thin slices. This is fresh mozzarella. And our fennel is done. So we now have our cooked fennel, our raw fennel, and now check the mushroom caps to make sure that they are cooking well and not overcooking. We don't want them to shrink away. If they cook too long, they're going to just disappear. Look how pretty they are. Portabella mushrooms. Picked up the flavor of the balsamic vinegar, and they are tender. Remove them to a platter if you're going to just fill them and serve them. These can be eaten at room temperature. They can be eaten warm, hot, not cold. These can also be a first course or a main course for a lunch. And you can, if you're not letting your guests do their own toppings, you can ask what they would like and do some custom orders. These are so pretty and tender, these tomatoes. And I think I'll do a mozzarella with some prosciutto. Kind of fold it on so it fits. And some prosciutto with fennel. And some shaved Parmesan cheese. Pieces of olive on this one. If you want to melt the cheese on top, I would take them to a fireproof, heat-proof platter. Maybe just a tomato or two. And now on this one, I'll put just a little bit of raw fennel, just as a garnish. While they're still hot, I'm going to serve them right away. Little Portabella mushroom pizzas. I loved your food last night.
Thank you.
We had something that I've never had before, grilled pizza. So George and Joanne said today that they would show us how to make this pizza on a grill. You said that you can do this pizza on an interior grill.
That's correct.
Well, an interior grill, if you have it in a fireplace,
Right.
you can adapt something very simply.
Like a hibachi in your fireplace?
Yes, right in your fireplace.
So that would work.
Yeah. It's hard to make the pizza unless you really know how to move this dough out. Now, you'll notice that we have a pan that has a little bit of olive oil in it.
Right.
So it's not dry, and this pizza is not rolled out in flour.
So it looks like quite a bit of olive oil, but that's
Yeah.
okay. They're sitting there
Yeah,
in the
that's
oil.
fine.
Okay, that
and
looks good.
Then we have a little bit of oil on the surface. This is just a little cookie sheet or jelly roll pan that's turned upside down.
Bread dough is what we normally use. Just flour, water, a touch of sugar,
Pinch of sugar,
salt, and a little bit of yeast.
You'll find the recipe for this dough in the October issue of the magazine.
What will happen is you'll push the dough out, and you can see it has a tendency to want to go back to the center. Just let it sit for a second, and just try it again. You'll see that it'll respond quite nicely.
Sometimes it looks like Maine, sometimes Florida. The shape is not important.
What are we going to put on the top of this one?
Joanne, what type of cheese do you have
It's
today?
Fontina and it's Pecorino. Fontina tends to be very soft, and if you mix it with the Pecorino, which is dry, it's much easier to handle.
I taste
for the
it as an
pizza.
excellent combination.
It's a nice combination.
And you can see it's ground very fine.
Right.
And then we'll make the margarita first, and that's just the tomato, the cheese, a little bit of olive oil, and you can put some herbs.
Okay, I'll put some just basil
We
and
have
some
some
parsley
basil.
on it.
Okay.
And then we have some other ingredients that are a little bit unusual.
The rare ripes.
Rare
which
ripes are scallions.
Scallions. We have some sausage that has been pre-cooked and also cut into very small dice. I have some natural pea pods.
Great.
Some fresh corn from the garden, blanched very quickly.
And then, George, for one of the pizzas, maybe we'll do corn and tomato. We
Great
have some
idea,
sliced
'cause
tomatoes.
The tomatoes look really good today.
Yeah, they're nice tomatoes. Great.
And we have some fresh basil and some fresh parsley.
And just the leaves.
Just the leaves.
Okay.
Okay, so you just pick it up, walk over to the grill, and on it goes.
But this is on the hot side of the fire.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The bricks are dividing it into two different sections.
Using fire brick.
Right. You have a staging area here in the front where we put the ingredients on the pizza.
And what kind of charcoal are you using?
I'm using a natural charcoal. It's not a briquette. It's actually real wood.
Does that burn hotter than the briquettes?
It does. This will burn anywhere between 900 and 1100 degrees. Briquettes usually only burn 400 to 500 degrees.
And a gas grill really doesn't get hot enough.
No, no. The pizza crust becomes cracker-like. And what you want with a pizza is it to be crisp and chewy at the same time.
Look at this. It's gorgeous. This is already cooked on this side.
Right.
And you pull it over to the...
Staging area here in the front where the heat is not as intense. What we're doing, which is different with the grilled pizzas, we're doing all the applications in reverse. The oil goes first.
Okay.
Okay, and then the cheese. And what we want to do is get the cheese closer to the source of the heat.
I see, so it melts faster.
Right.
Because you don't have that hot heat coming down on top.
Exactly.
You have it
It's
only...
coming from underneath.
Okay, good idea.
Okay. So, and we'll go over to the sauce.
Plum tomatoes, anything else?
We use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, but that's about it. Keep it as simple as possible. That's also the secret of a good pizza. Just some more olive oil on the top. And you can hear it starting to sizzle. I'll just slide it back over the grill. You can actually see it bubbling already.
Oh, I certainly do.
And now you just have to pay attention to it. It's not the kind of thing where you walk away from it.
It's getting a gorgeous color underneath. Yep, beautiful. Wow, does that look good. When do you put the basil on?
I'm going to put the basil on at the very last moment because I don't want it to darken. Now, what's nice about the grilled pizza is that it actually picks up the flavor of the wood. You want a little bit of crisp on the bottom because that is, when that mixes with the olive oil, when you cut through it, makes another taste. Yeah. That little bit of carbon and the olive oil makes it a really wonderful ingredient. In Italy, they never cut basil because it's bad luck.
Tear,
it always has to be torn. And what we'll do is I'll just take this over and just slide it over.
Boy, does that look good.
I'll give that to Joe.
Okay.
And so you use a pizza wheel to cut?
We generally serve it as is at the restaurant, but I want to give you a little taste.
I want one.
There you go.
Take this dainty piece.
Yeah. Just be careful because it is hot, right off the fire. But
Excellent.
It's
Just
amazing
excellent.
that it works, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
Martha, let me make another one for you using
Please
some of these
do.
other ingredients. I think I'll use some corn, some fresh mint.
And I have some tomatoes sliced up for you, too.
Oh, that's great.
So that'll be nice,
These
nice
look,
combination.
Those look beautiful.
And cheese.
Right there. All of the pizzas have cheese on them, so I think it's, you know, it just kind of brings everything together.
Yeah, I agree.
What
And
kind of-
can I make one too? Can I make one with the scallion, the peas, and the sausage?
Yeah, that'll be a great one.
Okay.
So I think we should get you rolling and pushing out this this dough first. Okay, so you can feel how simple
it's
it
so
is.
light.
Don't forget, it's just as important to taste the dough as it is to taste the tomato or whatever. So it's not pizza with the works. Just keep your toppings minimal, and you'll have great success.
These pizzas speak for themselves. You are both wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tarte Flambee. The dough is easy. 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of warm water. And remember, not warmer than 115 degrees. A 1/2 teaspoon of active dry yeast. We don't use too much yeast in this dough. We want a paper thin crust. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Stir that up. 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. Right into the liquid. And mix in 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And preheat your oven to 450 degrees if you're using convection, 475 if you're using the traditional oven. And basically you're going to knead this a little bit and let it rise. It's not going to rise a lot because it has very little yeast, but it is a yeast dough. I'm going to turn this out now onto a work surface. There. Now you can put a little tiny bit of olive oil in the bowl. You're going to put this dough back in that bowl for its single rising. You want the dough moist, but not too sticky. It's smooth and nice. Put it right there. And while it's rising, you can make the topping. And here we have our toppings. Our bacon crispy, our onions sauteed. We have a cup of very finely grated Comté cheese. I love that cheese. And 1/2 cup of creme fraiche. Break an egg right into the creme fraiche. Stir it in. This gets spread on top of the dough. A little tiny bit of salt, not a lot because that bacon tends to be salty. And 1/4 teaspoon, just 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander. We also have about 2 tablespoons of thyme leaves, and this can be just sprinkled on top. So there we have it. And onto a floured surface, put your dough. This little bit of dough makes 4 thin rectangles. You can cut this into quarters. And while you're waiting to use the other pieces, you can just invert the bowl like this. That'll prevent any drying out of the dough. We're going to roll this out. Use a rolling pin because you want it thin. We don't want any holes. So basically 10 by 8. Before you put the dough on the peel, put some flour to prevent sticking. You could trim the edges if you like this. And then spread a little of your creme fraiche egg topping, but go quite close to the edge. And now a little bit of bacon first. All in one thin layer. Some of this beautiful onion, fresh thyme, and some of the finely grated cheese. This goes right into a 475 degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. And so now look, oh, it is fabulous. Push your peel under it. Those sharp little motions, that is a tarte flambée. Let it cool before you cut it. And that is so gorgeous. Oh. These crispy flatbreads act as a canvas for colorful ingredients such as green tomatillos, sage leaves, cherry tomatoes, red and yellow. I like to think of them as edible works of art, and they taste really good and they are fun to make. And I first saw something like it cooked by my friend Julia Williamson, and I want to give her credit for inspiring us to make such beautiful, beautiful flatbread. To make the dough, very simple. 1/4 cup of warm water. Water shouldn't be any hotter than 100 degrees. A pinch of sugar and 1 1/4 teaspoons of dry active yeast. Let that proof. Proofing means you're activating the yeast, because yeast is a living microscopic single cell organism that converts its food through fermentation into alcohol and carbon dioxide as it grows. And if you watch what happens in this little bit of water and sugar, this active dry yeast really does start to form those little carbon dioxide bubbles. And now to add in that process of growing, add 1 1/2 teaspoons of your all-purpose flour. Active dry yeast comes in 2 forms, active and quick rising, which takes half as long to leaven the bread. Now, in a bowl, measure out your flour. We need 3 cups of all-purpose, unbleached white flour. Just put that right in your bowl. Dipping and scooping and measuring accurately. 1/4 cup of cornmeal. Now this is finely ground. This adds a crunchiness to the dough, and I love that little bit of crunchiness. 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 1/2 teaspoons of black pepper. And whisk this together and use 1/4 cup of rosemary needles, and we want fresh. And that goes right into the dough. So I see a few little bubbles forming down in the yeast, so it's proofing. You can add the flour all at once right into this bowl. And 1 cup of water, not warmer than 100 degrees. And this, you see, is fitted with a dough hook that allows you to knead bread as if you were kneading it pretty much by hand. Oil a bowl like this with some nice olive oil. This is where the dough will have its rising. And once it forms a ball like this, it's almost ready to turn out on a floured surface. Give it a few more kneads. You want it soft, but not sticky. And knead with the back of your hand. Don't incorporate too much more flour because it really doesn't need it. And ultimately, it becomes less and less sticky and nice and smooth. And put it like this, nice smooth side up, in your oiled bowl. And put it in a warm place, not too hot, but warm place to rise until this ball is about double in size. So here's our dough, doubled, a little bit more than doubled in size. And just scrape it out of the bowl, deflating it as you do that, onto a floured surface. I like working right on my kitchen counter. There. And the dough is so soft and nice. I like to just turn it into kind of an oval, which I'm cutting into 6 pieces because I want to make 6 flatbreads. So cut this into 6. So make 6 little balls. And I put this right on a parchment lined baking sheet and just cover with a bowl like that. Keeps it from drying out. You don't want your dough to dry out. So now spread your flour again and start flattening your dough. It's almost like a pizza dough, a nice rosemary infused pizza dough. And use your rolling pin and roll out into a long oval. It can be odd shaped. No 2 are identical. So it's really like creating a little bit of artwork. And you see the dough is very nice, really nice, pepper speckled and rosemary studded. And these go right onto unbuttered, ungreased baking sheets. Oil with delicious, best quality olive oil, the whole top. And the oil is essential. You have to have a good quality oil. So look for extra virgin olive oil, domestic or imported, doesn't matter as long as it is really good. Now, red onions sliced from top to bottom. They can be flared out like this on the bread. They can be broken into more pieces. This is a painting, your own flatbread painting. And then tomatillas. Now these are an unusual member of the tomato family. They are sour, delicious. You put those on. And then I like to do red and yellow tomatoes interspersed, or just, this one I'm only going to use yellow tomatoes. I love how that looks. And make sure that there's a little bit of something everywhere. Sprinkling of more black pepper. And this is sea salt, really crunchy sea salt. And sprinkle that all over. And a little bit more drizzling of olive oil on the vegetables. Preheat your oven, of course, to 400 degrees and bake each of these immediately until they're a beautiful golden brown, 12 to 14 minutes. Now, isn't that fun? Your kids will have so much fun decorating the tops of the flatbreads. So this goes in and work on the next. So I feel like Picasso of the flatbread, and you will too when you start creating your own beautiful arrangements of colorful vegetables on this very simple to make and delicious dough. Enjoy.